Well, it's been a couple of weeks. I think I'm going to have to talk about ponies again. So, one of the interesting things that they did with the show is that the characters weren't already friends when everything began. They all met Twilight and wanted to hang with her, but they weren't exactly a cohesive group before the whole Nightmare Moon thing happened. So, Season 1 gives us a lot of episodes that focus on two characters developing a legitimate friendship instead of all being friends of friends. There's a few head starts in the mix. Fluttershy and Dash grew up together, for example. And Pinky Knows Everyone in Ponyville is another one. This actually works to her disadvantage at the start of this episode, though. Dash and Pinky had met before they became friends with Twilight, and Dash thinks Pinky is as annoying as all hell. Now, we all know that Pinky is hilarious, but this is a sentiment that isn't exactly unfounded. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Pinky seems annoying. And what makes her such a great character is that she's lovable despite being constructed of the most annoying traits imaginable. Mathematically, a day with Pinky should be like stabbing yourself in the eye. For some unholy reason, she escapes the horror of the pieces used, and the whole is far greater than the parts. At the point where this episode starts, Dash has already been around her a bit, but the prospect of just the two of them hanging out is still sounding like that whole eye-stabbing thing. Actually, it feels a bit odd. This is a rare episode where it absolutely can't be watched out of order, and still makes sense. The character development is just too strong in this one. Some of the other episodes like this are Rarity and Applejack coming to an understanding, and Dash and Applejack establishing a rivalry. The understanding Rarity and Applejack come to is character development, but they aren't exactly nasty to each other before that episode. The Dash Applejack rivalry is present even in the episode with the tickets. But here, Dash is running away from Pinky, where after this episode, they're absolute best buds. After the chase, Dash gives up and lets the character development happen. No use fighting that shit. And this is where we find their point of connection: pulling pranks. Most shows seem to make a moral out of pranks being bad anytime they come up. The ponies, on the other hand, get away with that shit constantly. The only rule seems to be that, in the long run, the pranks need to be harmless. Except for the one they pulled on Twilight. Disappearing ink does not mix with science. I mean, God, there was an explosion! Also, Fluttershy is off limits. Don't fuck with Fluttershy. Well, next day rolls in, and you give Pinky an inch, and she's gonna take a mile. She's ready for round two, but Dash's old friend Gilda is in town. And thus begins the social horror of trying to mix groups of friends. This is always a nightmare, and has to be managed really, really carefully, or shit hits the fan. Of course, handling it properly would make for a boring-ass show, but Gilda really gets a raw deal out of it. Even giving Gilda the benefit of the doubt, she's an ass. That comes back to bite her, but I think everyone's got a friend who's kind of an ass and you still hang out with them anyway. Even assholes need friends. So, let the social mismanagement begin. Gilda's first impression of Dash's new friends is Pinky, who 24 hours ago Dash was trying her ass off to ditch. This is clearly a bad representative. Dash has to know Gilda well enough to take her aside and say, okay, this one is a little, yeah, but trust me, it's all good. It's never really clear if Gilda is moving in or just in town for a visit, but Pinky is determined to be a third wheel either way. You can't blame Gilda for telling her to fuck off. She was an ass about it, but at this point Pinky is in the wrong. She rushes off to whine at Twilight, and at this point there really isn't a way to put a positive spin on the fact that she was stalking Dash all day. This is actually an odd aspect of Season 1. It's basically Twilight's job to learn morals. Everyone else learns shit from time to time because you need some variety to carry a plot. But that doesn't mean anything because it's Twilight who's got to write that shit down and mail it off to the princess, who is likely more interested in knowing that Twilight is gaining basic social skills rather than keeping tabs on specifically what she learns from week to week. So Twilight uses her required screen time to tell Pinky that she sounds jealous, and Pinky runs off to have an existential crisis. Wait, Pinky learning to give her friend space? That sounds like it'd make a good episode. Let's save that moral for later. Seriously, fingers crossed. We avert wasting that potential plot by having Gilda show up and go on a rampage for no reason. She pranks Granny Smith in the not harmless way, steals an apple, and commits the worst crime Pony Society is capable of. She fucks with Fluttershy. This is going to come up a lot, so I'll say it again. You do not fuck with Fluttershy. There's about a billion reasons why, so I won't get into it yet, but shit always gets real when Fluttershy gets fucked with. So, Pinky decides to solve everything the only way she knows how. Yeah, she throws a fucking party. Mixing friends is nightmarish enough, it's time to drive this into awkward territory by adding a bunch of background characters with no lines. To spoil the twist on this one from the onset, Pinky really is trying to be nice to Gilda and win her over, and make her stop being a total bitch. Dash is actually the one who absolutely fucks this up by filling the party with pranks that make the already suspicious Gilda absolutely flip her shit. Dash tells Gilda to pretty much go fuck herself, in maybe not the nicest way possible, but in a way nice enough that Gilda could have backed down and not been an ass about it. But we've already learned Gilda is totally an ass, and she's committed to that. So she storms out. Way to go. Friendship over. And the moral they give us is about always staying a good friend even when your buddies are hanging out with assholes. But I'd say the real moral here is, if you want to mix friends, you might want to actually put some effort into it. Introduce people, give them a heads up about what they're in for. Gilda was an asshole, but that doesn't mean she wasn't Dash's friend. So, yeah, raw deal for Gilda.